Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in the Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by Smart Pet Talk. Today, we're joined by our regular contributor and co-host, Dan Gilman, and he's joined by Amanda Goodwin, CEO of Logatot. She's a transformational leader renowned for her storytelling and strategic marketing expertise with a proven track record of driving brand visibility and stakeholder engagement. She's had a rich career spanning roles at Little Sprouts and Life is Good Kids Foundation, and now Logatot, the first voice-activated childcare management software and the only software specifically designed for family childcare providers. They join me today to chat all about the childcare industry and how Logatot is improving the lives of family childcare providers nationwide. Welcoming now to the show is Amanda and Dan. Welcome, superstars.
Thanks so much for
Zen.
having us here.
Thank you so much for coming on, Amanda.
My pleasure.
You are a trailblazer. You clearly have a passion, lack of better words, for improving the lives of children, families, and caretakers, which now has brought you to Logatot, the first voice-activated childcare management software, which is built to ease the data entry workload for family childcare providers. Before we dive too deep, can you tell us more about the mission and vision of Logatot?
Sure. I mean, really succinctly, the mission is to provide family care providers more time, more income with less stress. There is a child care crisis across the country here in New York and far-reaching other places. We know that. The core of that crisis is really around the fact that careers in child care need to become more desirable, more sustainable, and more profitable. We can do that by easing the immense load of compliance and communication responsibilities that we put on these, and I'm going to say women because 93% of the workforce identifies as female. So the women, these micro business female entrepreneurs that run these businesses, they literally have a crippling number of administrative load that's put on top of taking care of 10 toddlers, watching 3 infants and 2 toddlers, watching 5 preschoolers, 2 toddlers, and an infant. Anyone who's ever cared for kiddos knows that being present with the care of one child is enough. So you add multiple children and then multiple compliance and communication mandates, and you can kind of see why so many people have left the field.
And I know, according to the National Survey of Early Childcare and Education, there are around 1 million paid providers caring for 3 million children from birth to age 5 in home in the U.S. And looking specifically right here in New York State, according to the 2021 Census Bureau report, an estimated 844,000 children under 6 lived in households where all available adults were in the labor force. So you certainly have a ton providers with packed houses who can benefit from this incredible tool. Now I know Dan has some questions, so I'll hand it off to him.
Yeah, welcome, Amanda. It's good to have you here. What inspired you to work with Logatot, and how has your journey been so far?
So I'm going to go all the way back to 13 years ago and becoming a mom. So as you know, Zen so nicely gave me that introduction. I was in media, and I was good at being in media, and I never thought that I would leave. And then I had a kiddo come into the world 2 months too soon, weighing only 2 pounds. That 61-day stay in the newborn intensive care unit and the 18 months that followed, working with, again, primarily women who were early interventionalists and early educators that helped not only my son, but me and my entire family get the services we need to be, fast forward today, he's as wonderful and healthy and annoying as any other 13-year-old. So there's a happy ending. But that experience stayed with me. And what I saw time and time and time again is that these women, these providers that were offering a truly invaluable service were underpaid, undervalued, and underrecognized. And then when I went deeper into the industry to learn, not only was there a compensation issue, but there were unfair compliance issues. When we go into a childcare, if it's a blazing hot day, right, we might go in and pick up our kiddos and see that the provider has handed out popsicles. And isn't that great? All the kiddos got a popsicle, and we see that as a simple. Handing out that popsicle has a minimum of 3 to 10 compliance issues attached to it, from reading the ingredient list to making sure the right child had the right sunscreen on before they went outside, making sure they logged when they went outside, when they came back in. And to date, all of that compliance is done either manually by hand or logged into a digital system that requires using a keyboard and screen. Every time an adult uses a screen in the presence of a child, it's distracted care. So there's kind of, I saw very quickly there was this unfair expectation that these women, these providers were supposed to do everything all the time exactly right. So I guess that I was confident and maybe slightly cocky enough to believe like we could do better. We could do better on behalf of women who do this work, and we could do better as a community to build tools that actually solve the problem. And so when I found Logatot and saw that they were the very first to market with a voice command solution, I knew it was for me.
What a beautiful story. Everything comes 360, and you definitely are on the right track. And I'm so glad Logatot is in good hands with you. And I think that this software couldn't have come at a better time. I know during the COVID-19 pandemic, there were sudden closures of schools and daycare centers. So many parents were scrambling to find alternative options, which sparked an overall renewed focus and emphasis on the childcare industry. I know at least it did for me. And Logatot, to my understanding, was founded just back in 2023. So between
Correct.
this renewed focus and this tool, I am truly hopeful that childcare services will only continue improving. Now, I know there are many childcare communication tools out there, but I'd love it if you could tell us more about what unique solutions Logatot offers to its customers, and how do you stand out in the market?
So really it's by the power of using your voice. Our strategy is really simple. We're going to listen to women. We're going to listen to women that are working in the field, and we're going to hear what they really need to make their jobs manageable. What they need is they need to be able to do things like hand out popsicles and log that activity in real time, not go back on unpaid hours on their own Saturday, on their own, dinner time when they're supposed to be with their family, and go back and fill in logs, which is what gets done again and again and again. You brought up the COVID crisis, and like if there are little opportunities that COVID made more visible, it is to do right by those who dedicate their careers to childcare. Everybody in the country can agree that our kids deserve high quality care, but not enough people and not enough solutions are focused on getting there means listening and believing the women who do the work and giving them the tools they need to move faster. We know that when you use your voice, because we know with Alexa and Siri, you can actually multitask. I could hand a popsicle and at the same time say, Logatot, Sally got a popsicle. Or Logatot, I just gave all the kids popsicles, and like magic have my compliance paperwork taken care of for me so that I, as the provider, can go enjoy maybe a popsicle of my own without, the weight of I have more work to get back to do. Taking care of children properly requires presence.
What a great story. This is beautiful.
Where you can't
I
be
mean,
present when you're distracted. And that's why, childcare providers, compassion fatigue, burnout, and career abandonment is so high because enough people aren't listening, that the compliance rules that are set up to help me aren't doing that. This is not about not being compliant. We want everyone to be compliant, but we want compliant and customer expectations, which parents, that's our expectations, to be reasonable.
Mm. Yeah, how does Logatot integrate technology and innovation into its service or products?
Sure. So, I mean, again, the quickest way to get the idea is how you use Siri and Alexa. So, as someone, I'm also extremely neurodivergent, right? I can tell you, I start every day by opening up my computer, looking at my personal and professional calendars, and I speak my to-dos for the day or my get-tos for the day to Alexa so that the reminders come on, because if not, I might leave kiddo at camp or school and forget to pick up. Not because I don't love him, but because I'm, hyper focusing on my work. Logatot works in the similar way, where it both offers reminders to providers throughout the day of what's set up. So let's say you have a kiddo who has an allergy, and you've set up to, let's say they have a gluten allergy, and you've set up to give that kiddo a snack that includes graham crackers. Logatot will remind you that there's a gluten allergy and not to hand that snack. So you also get like a kind of a paid assistant without having to cover the cost of having a real person with you. It also, again, lets you go through, say, Sally just got to my house. You can check in automatically. You can do mandated health checks automatically just with the power of your voice. And it automates into compliant paperwork that then can serve as proof to licensing agencies I'm in full compliance.
Yeah, that's great.
Wow, those total case studies there where Logatot is making significant impact, and I love that. I truly think that because Logatot is voice activated, not only does it benefit these providers who used to have to manually catch up on compliance, like you said, during unpaid hours, which I think is horrible,
Mhm.
but it can reduce adult screen time, right, by more than 50% around the children in their care, which for me is incredibly important as a mom, because this allows providers to stay more connected, like you mentioned earlier, alert, and keep the screen influence to a minimum.
Yeah, there's not a healthcare provider or health agency in the world that doesn't advocate for zero screen time for kids 0 to 5. Now, let's be
Mm.
honest, that's not practical in 2024.
No,
So
no.
if we can't do zero, what can we do? Can we reduce the amount of times our youngest children are seeing their trusted care providers engaging with a screen? We can by activating voice. One thing you'd also mentioned in my bio, so I used to help operate 40 child care centers here in the Northeast. And one of the most frequent complaints that we would hear from families is providers, my teacher is always on their device, was always on a tablet, but in full transparency, what they were doing on that tablet was logging the day's events, was making sure they were in compliance. So how do we, and that's why what I was talking about, kind of unrealistic compliance and customer demands. How do we both satisfy parents like me who want to know what's going on and when it happened, and state, which is there to ensure the safety of children and staff? Using voice gets both of those things done without the distraction of a screen and without more screen exposure to our youngest kiddos.
Mm.
Now, this is extremely important. We have about a minute left, and I know Dan has one more question. But now, both sustainability and social responsibility are growing topics. We see this more and more in the business world, with many companies putting a stronger emphasis on them. I'd love to know, how does Logatot approach sustainability and social responsibility within the industry?
Sure. So, sustainability, we're trying to make careers in childcare more sustainable, period. Right. And so there's a social sustainability that I think is at the core and start of everything that we do. Tactically and practically. So we have large scale partnerships. One with right here, one of the largest union of childcare providers in the state of New York, CSEA Voice. And as part of our contribution and our partnerships with organizations like that, we aim to pledge 1% back to those organizations that partner with us. So X amount of childcare providers come on to Logatot through the CSEA membership, then we would be able at the end of the year to pledge 1% back to the group that brought the members to us. It's part of a larger tech kind of pledge 1% of, if you're going to start a tech and digital company, do it from the very start with the emphasis of doing good. The core of our business model is good, but we also want to make sure that there's a piece of that that gives back to the exact providers and to those provider organizations that are helping grow this business.
Remarkable.
That's incredible. So, what are some of the challenges that you're facing while growing Logatot, and how are you overcoming them?
So, honestly, it is being trusted as another service for providers for one more good idea. There's endless amount of people that have come to market with saying, hey, people in childcare, I've got the answer. Just do this. Just take this course. Just try this thing.
Mm.
And they haven't made the careers, they haven't made the job easier. And so when you have letdowns like that, historic letdowns. I mean, if you watch Abbott Elementary, you can see the characters joke about it. It happens in the field of education again and again and again. I'm working really hard to be a trusted provider that if the tool isn't working right, if it's not saving you between 2 to 10 hours a week, tell us, we'll fix it so that it does. Right now, we're in the early stages. Again, we just launched in November of 2023. We have just under 100 providers on the platform. So it'll be moving in mass and getting critical feedback directly from the field, from the women who use this product to make sure it works to make their job and their lives better.
You definitely have something extremely proprietary, innovative, and solving many, many problems, both for providers and even for the actual children that are being provided for. So congratulations on that. We are officially out of time. Thank you so much for coming on and
Thank you.
giving us great insight into an incredible service.
Wonderful to be here. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
That was our Discover Your Potential segment brought to you by Smart Pet Talk, and that was the incredible Amanda Goodwin. Definitely be sure to check her out and check out Logatot and learn more at logatot.com. And of course, you can head directly on LinkedIn and check them out at Logatot. And of course, you can see more of Dan by heading to discoveryourpotentialshow.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.